Today I have another story from Jeff King out of his book, The Whispers. And if you're familiar with Jeff King, he is the president of the international Christian concern Persecution.org. This story comes from page 50 in his book, I Will Never Turn Back. And the Bible verse, 2 Corinthians 12, verse 10. For Christ's sake, delight in weakness, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when you are weak, then you are strong. A story about a couple in India. Condi and his wife, Bindi, were eating dinner when they heard the villagers outside their home in rural India enraged and shouting for Condi to come out. Bindi froze in terror and Condi held her. He put his face to her hands, looked into her eyes, and said quietly, I'm going outside to them and may never come back. But no matter what happens, you have to believe in Jesus and keep spreading the faith. Condi had come to Christ 5 years earlier and told Bindi he wanted to live the life of an evangelist and a church planter. Depending on the region of India, this isn't the safest profession. The job is challenging at best, and at worst will be fatal. Bindi herself wasn't a Christian at the time, but she knew the cost of the life Condi was proposing. Her own mother had been raped because she was a Christian. Bindi now had to wrestle through two major decisions, giving her life to Jesus and to a man who wanted to risk everything for the sake of the gospel. Being a church planter meant he would be on the front lines of a dangerous spiritual war. She weighed the risk carefully. Ultimately, she knew the gospel was true, and she had to give her life to Jesus. Once that decision was made, deciding to follow Condi into battle was easier. In time, Bindi's burden for the lost of India exploded, and she and Condi devoted their lives to spreading the gospel in a region violently opposed to Christianity. Their mission was just as dangerous as she had feared. The villagers continually threatened us, she said. They demanded we leave the village or give up our faith. But we refused. To her and Condi, leaving the village would have felt like we were leaving our faith. On the night the villagers came and demanded Condi's appearance, Condi embraced his wife, spoke his parting words of encouragement, and walked out the door. Bindi heard the crowd roar and then listened as the sounds of the mob became fainter and fainter as they moved into the jungle. She listened until she could only hear the insects of the night. Sadly, there's no plot twist or a miraculous ending to this story. Condi never returned. The next day, his body was found with his throat slit. And that was the beginning of a staggering, difficult journey for Bindi. Bindi was catapulted into a land of intense pain and fear. For many months afterwards, she would jump and feel terror every time the phone rang. Her father pressured her to stop doing gospel work and to leave the faith. In response, she told him, I don't regret our decision to follow Jesus. Losing my husband has brought me so much pain, but I will live for Jesus and I will die for Jesus, and I will never turn back. You and I are going to encounter darkness, deep darkness in our lives. Sometimes God will show up as a blazing light in our darkest hours. He will put the night to flight and breathe courage into our hearts, and we will be calmed. Other times, the darkness will be so deep, it will threaten to wash us away. We will desperately crave even one word from Him, or just a bit of light to show us the way. But there will be only silence and darkness. As hard as it is to accept, this is often by design. The darkness and the fear drive us to cling to Him with everything we have. This is what takes our relationship with Him to another level. Once we've reached the end of our resources, we learn how to live for Him. And eventually, at the right time, the light breaks through and the darkness retreats. This will be a recurring theme all the days of our spiritual journey. Each time of suffering we encounter should cause us to become more and more dependent on Jesus. Bendy's life was plunged into darkness, and she was still traveling through that land at the time of this writing. She's doing her best with the light of the Savior guiding the way, one step at a time. I don't know Bendy's future, but I feel confident in two things. The first is, just as she said to her father-in-law, she will never give up. She will never turn back. And second, after her long journey through the night, I suspect that, given her superhuman courage and resolve, the Lord will use her significantly.